Welcome to the Authenticity Calling podcast. I'm your host, Relitza Spasova. And today on the podcast, we have my new and good friend, Nikita Sharma. Welcome.
Hello, Relitza. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you. And it was so amazing and serendipitous how we met. So I would love it if you could share with our audience, I guess your title, what you do, how you show up in the world authentically, and who you identify as.
Awesome. I would love to. So I don't even know what to call myself sometimes, but because it's always changing, but I would describe myself as a mind and body transformation coach for women. But I specialize in helping them build strength and build muscle, specifically in the gym. And then with that comes the strengthening of the mind, because I've gone through a lot of shit in my life before, and that was one of the things that saved me, healed me. It was like therapy, and now I do that for other women. And then I also do the nutrition part. I'm a very holistic woman, and I teach women how to eat to feed their body, not to be scared of food, to have a good relationship with food and how it can fuel you. And then I also do the mindset coaching, so helping women incorporate the meditation, breath work, gratitude practice, visualization, and manifestation. Because when you're going through a body transformation, the mind has to be in the right place. And there's a lot of self-limiting beliefs that come up. But when you're aligned mind, body, spirit, it's a lot easier.
Wow, I love that. Oh, I love that. That is the ultimate truth of all things personal development right there. Mind, body, spirit, you embrace the physical, but the physical is so important. And what I love is that you underlie it with the most important part, which is our mind. So not just pushing through to get to the gym, not going into that toxic masculine overdrive and bully your way through all of the things that are kind of getting in your way, but really from a authentic place of let's go with your mind. What's been stopping you? How has that been getting in your way? And let's look at a holistic approach. I love that you talk about nutrition and feeding our bodies and the relationship with food. I think that is so important. So when people come to you, what would you say are maybe like your top client testimonials that you're like, yes, like this person went from point A to point B and like this was their massive transformation? Do you have any of those examples, just so that we can really ground what's possible and what kind of timeline are we talking about?
Totally. So my one client comes to mind. I've been working with her for 6 months, and she's done at everything. She came from her childhood was extremely rough, and she suffered from binge eating, and she's been to therapists, healers, all, you name it. And she even goes to Overeaters Anonymous, and, she's been having pain all over her body. But the missing component was tapping into her body, into her ferocity, as we would call it, and releasing what happened to her in the past. And there were so many things that came up, like even just doing the breath work. Like, she was afraid to hold her breath because of things that happened in her past. And once she broke through that barrier, man, it was like an opening. She's like, I get it now. Everything I've been resisting is where I needed to go. And then just building her strength. Like, she had this ankle injury that she's been wearing a brace for years, and we did an in-person session, and I was like, dude, take that off. Not only is it preventing your ankle from really working and getting blood flow, it's in your mind too. And I believe, like, so many of us have these mental crutches, like, oh, but I'm this, we label ourselves as this. But it's like, if you take that off and actually see what your body is capable of when you don't label yourself, like, you can do anything. And she hasn't. She's doing hikes, and she's like, I'm climbing stuff, and I don't even think twice about it. And she's literally gotten over her binge eating as well. She doesn't go over her macros, her nutrients, and she started to look like a bodybuilder. I'm like, dude, like she's got abs and everything. And just in
Wow.
6 months, like, and it's just the synchronicities that have happened are crazy. Like, I have a very close relationship with my clients, and me and her just have been having these great moments. So that was one, but it's a huge one. I have others, but yeah, it was a great one.
Wow, that's amazing. And so that is massive. I mean, you're talking about, you know, who knows how many generations of trauma to come down to one human to bear the load of whatever she experienced in her childhood that has led her to binge eating. And what you said was so powerful about, you know, having a brace or a cast or something that stops the mobility, but the importance of getting back to mobile and removing that sort of that limiting physical limitation, right? But removing that physical limitation and what kind of an impact it can have on the mind and vice versa to transform this person completely from the inside out. Like that to me is it's beyond mind blowing. It's like soul blowing. My when you're talking about the my soul, I was just like lit up. I could feel the truth chills. My soul is just so on fire for the what you do and how you do it. It's amazing. So did
Thank you.
you learn this method or did you create it on your own?
It's a blend of life and learning and yeah, like textbook stuff. So the gym was just something that, like, when I was 18 years old, that was 15 years ago, was something I became obsessed with because I was like,
Mm,
I love it. So I learned a lot on my own. I'd be working at my environmental job. That's another career I did. And I'd be Googling exercises and muscles and how to work them in different ways. So I just naturally love that bodybuilding
mm,
style of workouts because the mind to muscle connection that I would feel, I would go to the gym and get to like meditative state, just like feeling just my
mm,
body and connecting with my body. And then I left the environmental industry. I was like, I'm not passionate about this. I don't want to die behind a desk. And then I became a personal trainer in a gym, which was a huge hit to my ego because that was something like, you know, kind of it's an easy job. But then I got the ground experience and I took the certifications and I did a bunch of certifications, you know, traveled to Winnipeg and all this kind of stuff. Not that that's a big deal, but and then from there, I just kept continue to learn. And then I started doing bodybuilding shows. And that's when I really learned like how nutrition, and I did it in a holistic way, no drugs. I did it very healthy. And I saw what it takes to really get shredded. And then
mm,
the mindset stuff, that was really like life happening to me. I suffered from extreme anxiety, had anxiety attacks myself. And I remember putting on my vision board that like I wanted to learn how to meditate more because I felt like my mindset was really holding me back.
mm,
And I had just like negative thoughts. And I was like, something needs to change. Like I see this potential of myself in the future, but there's a disconnect. So then I
mm,
actually hired a coach to help me incorporate meditation, breathwork, gratitude practice. And then when COVID happened, I couldn't train in the gyms. And then I was
mm,
like, I am putting all of this working out, nutrition, mindset into one package and I'm delivering it for people because when I was a trainer in the gym, the nutrition and mindset part was sorely lacking. And to make the
mhm.
lasting change, you need all three. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's how it happened.
Absolutely. That's amazing to me because I mean, the coaching certification that I completed, there's so many coaches who literally they create business with gyms, with personal trainers to fill that gap of the mindset and the behavioral changes linked with the mindset, the somatic work, the breath work, the, you know, habit changes. And so all of those things, the fact that you offer all of it in one package, that's amazing. That's not very common. And so my part of my mind is like, I need to sign up and we need to get this thing started because I want this transformation. Like I want to look like I'm going to a competition. Yes, please. Because I'm the type of person, my body transforms pretty quickly if I can stick to a routine and if I'm dedicated. But the thing is, for me to get dedicated, it has to be boxed. Like it has to be in a package. I have to know it's black and white for me. I'm either doing it or I'm not doing it. And if I'm doing it, nothing can stop me. So I love that you have this offer. And so if somebody is in a place where they're feeling stuck and they have this internal desire to change their life, to change their body, to change their eating habits, to change their lifestyle, because literally it's a lifestyle, right? You mentioned being in corporate, and you mentioned being actually, do you mind actually taking us back to your journey from that corporate world, and sort of what first made you go into the corporate world? And then what, I hear that misalignment was very obvious for you, but what really made you say, like, enough is enough, and I'm going to do this thing that's calling my soul? Like, what was that clear defining moments? I would love to hear that. And then we'll go into serving our listeners, because I think there's a lot of nuggets probably that they can gain from the story first.
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to. So my dad, my parents being Indian, he was like, you have to be engineer. And I'm like, I went with it. And then I was like, okay, I'll settle. I'll do sciences, because I remember two very distinct things that my dad also told me, us growing up. It was the purpose of one's life is to figure out a way to give back to society. And then you're not going to become rich working for somebody else. And it's so funny that when I decided to leave the environmental industry, that he was the one that was like, no, how could you? Because to him is stability, right? And he wants me to be safe. But so when I was in the consulting industry, I was just like, yeah, I felt like I'm not gonna make change doing this until I'm like 70 years old. And I got into it because I was like, I want to help the environment and all this kind of stuff, but I just saw how political it was, and how just, it's all about money, and green technologies, they're just not here yet. And then I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? And then I really started to explore the personal training stuff. And then I thought maybe I'd do kinese, but then I was like, okay, what can I do that I'm having an immediate feedback, where I'm getting that immediate fulfillment, and then something that I'm good at, and then something eventually I can work for myself. And so, I thought about it, took a couple months off to think about it. And then I was just like, enough thinking, like, just go for it. Just become a personal trainer, just get your foot in the door. And at least you'll know if you're in the right direction. And so, there's a lot of like up and downs and missteps, but for anyone else out there thinking about doing that, just go for it. Because then I was always like, if it doesn't work out, at least I can be on my deathbed and know that I gave it a shot. I tried. The universe will reward you when you are in alignment, and those like synchronicities will happen. So you just got to go for it.
I love that. And so I feel like, I don't know why this is coming to me. I trust the vision, but I could almost see you sitting at your desk, and suddenly something like dawns on you, like it hits you, like enough. Like something, what happened in that moment where you were like, I can't do this for another day? Is that what happened? Because I saw it as if I was there.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember I was like sitting there, and I was just like, I just looked around, and I was like, so we're gonna do this, huh? For the rest of our lives until we die? And I was like, I don't like this. Like, my back hurts, my shoulders hurt. Like, I'm not a robot. Like, I was not meant to do this. And then, yeah, it wasn't too soon after that I gave my notice. So yeah, that was it was a very, yeah. Good job.
Wow. That is powerful. And so what this is called Authenticity Calling. This is the podcast. And so I want to highlight moments where a lot of times we hear our inner voice, but then we bypass it and we ignore it. And we're like, oh yeah, let's put it on the back burner. Yeah, maybe another time. Or like, yeah, that's a nice little pipe dream, right? That's unrealistic. So what do you feel was your calling, that authenticity within you that was like, okay, Nikita, this is your calling, do the thing. Like you said, just do the thing. But what was in your mind, or maybe in your mind's eye, or maybe maybe it was a dream, maybe it was, how did that sort of come about for you to call you forward to actually take the next step? Because leaving one place that's not aligned, that's an excellent first step. But what was the calling into that purpose and being able to be in service, like your dad always taught you? and really finding your ikigai, like your alignment, your reason for being. Yeah. What was that thing? How did you know?
Yeah. So the gym and athletics helped me heal on a deep, deep level.
Mm-hmm.
And, I grew up in an extremely small town in Northern Canada, was bullied for being brown. Also felt the hostility in my household between my parents. It was arranged marriage. I remember a lot of like anger, and you and I both know that gets in the body, inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the gym as an outlet, much better than doing drugs or other things, right? And that became how I healed. But then I saw how many women weren't confident in the gym, and they didn't see that it was something that could really help them. And I had this calling, and I saw like what it did for me in my life, and I'm like, I want other women to feel this. I want other women to know and not be afraid to pick up a weight, that they're not going to get bulky or break or whatever, that it's literally the most liberating thing. Because when I started to lift weights I'd never lifted before, I was like, oh my God, like what else can I do? And that confidence, like small wins, small confident wins, it translates into other areas of my life. And before I knew it, like, being a people pleaser, all this kind of stuff, I started speaking up for myself more, standing up. I started traveling to places I would be too scared to go. I started hiking alone. I started going stoic, and by doing those things, I was really able to listen to my soul more and more and let it guide me. And I think a lot of people could benefit from that, because there's so many distractions these days. Go get lost in nature. It's one of the best things that you can do. So yeah, but then having the confidence to go do those things, it all stemmed from the gym. And I was like, I want to teach other people how to do this.
Wow. Wow. That is so inspiring, and it is so empowering to hear you talk about that. You're just your own journey and transformation. But then what really like hits my soul is you seeing other women not being confident and not having this empowerment, this fire within them, which is possible. It's like it's right there. It's just waiting for you to pick up a weight. That to me is so inspirational. And so if there's someone listening right now and they're like, yes, you're speaking to my soul. I've always wanted to do this for myself. What would be your advice to this person who's listening, whose soul is for the first time maybe hearing alignment and is like, oh, I'm being called forward? What would you tell that person?
I would tell them, the fear of looking stupid is making you act stupid. Nobody in the gym, right? I've had that so many times. Like, nobody in the gym is judging you. I came up with the saying, but like, ain't no one looking in the mirror but you. Like, what are you going to do at the end of the day to make yourself proud? Like, are you going to let the fear of what others think stop you and hold you back from picking up the weight, or, trying something that you're not good at? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're just afraid of, is doing something new, being excluded from the herd. When you go down to it, it's really a silly fear. So bust through that fear, because on the other side of fear is liberation.
Oof, oof. I love what you just said. On the other side of fear is liberation. Absolutely. And that's kind of like my understanding of maintaining the resistance, and what I talk about often. It's like you can keep maintaining the resistance, but maintaining the resistance is so much more work. It's so much harder. It takes so much more of your capacity than just doing the thing. Just
Oh my
try.
God. Yeah.
Something, do anything, but stop maintaining the resistance.
Oh my God, yeah. And we overcomplicate things in our heads so much rather than just doing the damn thing. So
Yes. I love it. And take messy action. I feel like that's one thing that gave me my perfectionist. So something that I truly believe is perfection is the ultimate form. Like perfectionism is the ultimate form of self-rejection. It's like telling God, Mother Nature, the universe, whatever, your mom and dad, hey, the way you made me is not good enough. It's like, what gives you the audacity to look yourself in the mirror and say you're not good enough? What are you kidding me right now? So yeah, I think it's really interesting, because it's like whatever action you take it doesn't matter what it is. It's better than sitting in fear.
Totally, totally. Even if you go to the gym, and even if you go for like, just lie to yourself, just go for 20 minutes, just pick up one dumbbell, just do one exercise you've never done before, and do it for a week. You're going to be almost a pro at it. Then do another one. Small baby steps. You don't have to have this huge transformation overnight. It's impossible.
I love that. And another thing I'm really curious about, you said that when you went to the gym, it's sort of like your meditation. So I love going to the gym, but I don't know that I've ever experienced it in a way that I've truly connected to my body the way that you talk about connecting with your body, feeling every fiber of your muscles. Can you take us through, like, what is there, a meditation practice, or how do you get really into your body?
So the nice thing about the bodybuilding style workout is it's a lot of muscle isolation. And it's really about intention when you go in. So if you're doing, let's say, a chest exercise, what I would do is look at that exercise, look at the muscle group, like on a fairly detailed anatomy book. And I didn't realize it, but it's visualization at the time. Look at it, I'm like, okay, this is the muscle I'm supposed to target. Then when I would go to the gym, I'm like, am I feeling that muscle? And I would actually try to get it to contract. And now I can make my pec stance, but yeah. But doing that for every single muscle group, and we have 108 muscles in our body, but doing it for the major ones. And then what happens is you increase your mind to muscle connection, which increases the muscle growth, because it's amazing. This is the power of the mind. You're actually using the mind to focus on that muscle. It grows, it gets stronger, and it's also better aesthetics. Like I won first place in my very first bodybuilding show, and I did not even have a lot of time to prep. That's like how much this stuff works.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing. And go slow and controlled, and just ask yourself, okay, what is the purpose of this exercise? Because there's one thing to just like do the motion, and it's another to, again, be intentional, feel the squeeze.
I love that. And I'm sure that prevents a lot of injury as well, because I mean, people go to the gym and they have personal trainers, and their personal trainers are showing them, it's sort of like showing the strategy. It's like when we're in business and we're learning strategy, it's like you can learn the strategy, but if it doesn't apply to your model, then it's never going to work. So it's almost like, okay, they can pull the weight this way for their body, but then when you do it, it doesn't hit the same, but they never actually check with your body if it's working, because the strategy looks right. So it's really powerful what you just said about really taking responsibility for knowing what the body, the anatomy of the body, but then also taking the time to visualize and putting that intention forward to slowly contract, being very mindful of the way that you exercise. I think that is so powerful. So it's almost like whatever you're doing at the gym, you're wasting your time if you don't know your anatomy, and if you're not really focused and intentional about what you're doing. It sounds like, right?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily like wasting your time, but it'll take you from an average body physique to probably like where you want to go. Because let's be honest, like I think most of us would like that toned athletic look, like, and it's going to take you to that next level. And, I used to be that trainer in the gym, and I would work with clients, and after 6 months or even a year of working with them, I'd be like, okay, like, love you, bye, like, you're on your own. And I would see them a month later, and they'd be like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, were you paying attention the whole time? But they don't, like, they go in, they just turn their brain off, and because I'm there to do it for them. But when you, like you said, take responsibility, do it on your own, it's a totally different ball game, which is kind of the beauty of the online training, which is what I do. Like I build the program for the clients, so it's up to them to do the exercises on their own in the gym, given like how they're supposed to do it with the form. But yeah, there's more ownership on their end.
Wow, I love that. So you're actually teaching gym. It's like just the survival training that you get to take for the rest of your life, is how to really honor your body, really listen to your body, be one with your body, and then set your intention and be mindful with what you do. And so I can imagine that translates even into daily life. I mean, like you say, sitting at a desk, I sit at a desk, I have a corporate job, and absolutely my posture, it's terrible. But I imagine if I was in the gym and if I was so mindful with my every single muscle group in my body, I would for sure not be sitting the way that I sit in my chair all day, right? Like I feel like that would translate into every area of life. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious about your clients, like do they have side effects in other areas of their life? What else changes when they prioritize doing this work with you?
Mm. Honestly, like everything in their life gets better. Like they're just like, oh, I can, like the way they look, obviously. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I've been fit into jeans. I'm fitting into jeans I haven't fit into like for years.
Mm.
And the most common one is hiking. I hear like them like, oh, I'm actually like my feet are more stable. I'm able to go up hills and not get winded. So it's just
Mm.
like living your life on in a more healthy way. And
Mm.
just the relationships with themselves, to be honest, this is really what it is. It's choosing to put yourself first. And that is the biggest battle. It's especially for women, it's tougher because we have that nurturing side, but it's like when they learn how to do that, they see how much they didn't do it before. They
Mm.
really start to prioritize themselves, and then they just learn to be more confident. And yeah, like I said, that spills into other areas of their life.
I love that. Yeah, I actually just recently watched a TED Talk, and your TED Talk was also amazing. So if you haven't seen it yet, you need to check out Nikita Sharma's TED Talk because that was, ooh, so good. So, so good. But I recently watched one that talked about, and I'm trying to find the name of the speaker because I always love to give credit where it's due, but um, she talked about how women specifically, like when we see kids on the playground. So her name is Rishma Sojani, and I'm sorry if I butchered that, but I reposted it on my LinkedIn, and I think it's so powerful. But she talked about how kids are raised, how boys and girls are raised differently, right? For example, on the playground, boys are told like, go be wild, do your thing, climb to the top. It's okay if you fall, like, be brave. Whereas girls are taught to be perfect. And it's like that makes such a big difference. And when we go out into the career world, men will apply for any job. If it strikes their interest, it doesn't matter how many of the qualifications they have, they'll still apply. Whereas women will make sure that we have all of the qualifications before we apply, which honestly, those qualifications are best case scenario and very unrealistic. And so it's so interesting when we look at corporate places or these sort of climb the ladder places, and we see how it's built in that patriarchal system, but really we build it from the mindset that we instill in our children right from when they're born. Little girls are constantly being told, be careful, right? Don't hurt yourself. You have to be pretty. You have to be smart. You have to be perfect. And it's like, wait a second, how do we change the narrative? So how do you repattern that relationship with the work that you do? Because I think so the way that I work with clients, we talk a lot about masculine and feminine. I feel like going to the gym, taking action, it's a very masculine way of being. And so, that you said the meditation and the honoring the self and the self-care and all of that is more of the feminine of the being. And so I get curious, is there a repatterning of how to show up in those different energies that also happens when you coach and support people?
Totally, totally. Uh, so I find with women who are heavily, at least 80% in their feminine, they like to indulge, and they're usually a little bit overweight
Mm,
because they resist the structure,
okay.
right? A little bit of structure in your life is healthy. We both have a little bit of masculine or feminine, right? We can go more or less the other way. But I believe it's so healthy to tap into your masculine in a healthy way,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And the
mhm.
gym and having that little bit of structure can really, really help you in your life. Because if we go like, if someone's all masculine or all feminine, both is not ideal, right? We need to
Mm-hmm.
honor each side. So being able, and a lot of women, like that's a calorie counting. They don't want to like do the track their food and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
such a mental resistance to it, that resistance is where they need to go, because
Mm.
it's just like accounting for your finances. If you're not accountable for what's going in and out of your bank account, same thing. If you're not accountable for what's going in and out of your mouth, like it's going to go one way or the other. So, but it doesn't have to be forever. But anyways, so that little bit of structure, a little bit of accountability is super, super healthy. And when you keep the promises that you make to yourself, like when you go to the gym, when you eat the healthy foods that you say you're going to do, that creates self-love and confidence when you keep those promises. And then like ultimately it's good for you. Like, yeah, for sure, I would love to eat cake and ice creams, all that kind of stuff for like dinner, but we need to use our minds to be responsible for our body and not let that take over.
I
So
love that. Yeah, I love that. And so while you were sharing that, what I envisioned or felt is sort of like that you're repatterning your relationship with your masculine energy. So being able to create structure and show up for yourself, that actually heals the masculine relationship. And a lot of times I wonder, because of the pattern, I wonder if women that fall into a lot of that feminine have a disconnected relationship with their fathers, with their paternal figures, and that's why they avoid their masculine energy. Because I feel like when we do our deep healing work of the masculine and feminine of our parents, of our mothers and fathers, I feel like that's where we either, we start by overcompensating and we overdo it, or we avoid it completely. And so that's really interesting that you invite clients to embrace both sides and to recognize where they're sabotaging by really prioritizing one or the other. So it's really interesting, because I do feel like our world in general is more toxic masculine focused, in that sort of like overdrive and like pushing hard and pushing through, and if it hurts, do it anyway. It's like, wait a second, it's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be listening very intently to our bodies, but that takes a connection, that takes really getting into our bodies. So, and that is a very feminine approach. And so I just love that you combine both. And I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but it sounds like there's a repatterning of those energies, and the way that the way that we hold our energy moving into this work with you, that happens, and that balance happens. And I love it. I'm an all yes for it. So that's really exciting. What would you say, if you could give one tip, trick, giveaway to the audience that's listening right now, that's totally inspired, and they're like, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to the gym tomorrow, or like right now. In those moments where they're at the gym, they don't know what they're doing, and maybe they're trying things out and they're starting to learn about their body, but they start to feel defeated. What would you say to kind of give them that extra inspiration to keep going? Or what was that thing for you?
So purpose. You need a purpose. You need a fixed deadline. You need something like that, because life is going to pull you off track if you don't have that North Star. So set something that's realistic for yourself. If you've never done something for like a month or 3 weeks, set that as your first goal, or maybe you do a 6-month goal. Once you have that, come up with a plan and then execute. And just the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. So that is really, really the fundamental basics of it. Is fixed deadline, have a goal, because when you wake up, you have something to work towards. And then the plan can be very detailed, right? Write out every single day that you're going to work out. The more detailed you can be, the better. Right when you're going to meal prep, and then keep the promises that you made to yourself, because self-confidence, integrity is where it comes from. We all know when we hit the snooze button a couple times, or don't go to the gym when we say we're going to do it, it's that there's that guilt, that shame, that negative self-talk that comes. And the way to go through it is to keep those promises. And even a 20-minute workout is better than nothing. So start with the small wins as well. And that's how you're going to climb the mountain. But yeah, the goal purpose is the biggest thing. And do something that scares you a little too. Yeah.
I love that. Do something that scares you a little. Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, getting into the gym, if you've never been there, can be extremely scary for some people, right? It's like going on a hike for the first time can be very scary. It's almost like this fear mongering comes over you, and it's like, what if a bear comes? What if a dog bites me? What if a bee stings me? What if it's like your mind can create so many stories of resistance, right? Well, what if I break a finger? What if I, like, there's just so many stories that I feel like we've been trained from our society to come up with, so many excuses that stop us from doing the thing that will bring us the most aliveness. So yeah, all of that. Like, I love what you said. And it sounds a lot like SMART goal setting, right? It's like, make it specific, make it measurable, realistic, right, time bound. So it has to be something that you can actually measure and see, am I showing up for myself? And I love how you talked about it being very detailed in that visioning process, in that mental, dedication to yourself. It's so much easier, that mental rehearsal that we do. The more detailed it is, the easier it is when you actually get up to do the thing. It's like your mind already knows how to do it. Your mind already knows what you're going to do. So executing is so much easier. So I just, yeah, everything you said, I'm just, yeah, love it all. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you, and what kind of programs do you have coming up in 2024? How can people get more of this amazing information and really like dial in and dive in?
Yeah, so I'm most active on my Instagram, which is nikita.liftlovelaugh. And then my website is www.liftlovelaugh.com. And then my email is nikita@liftlovelaugh.com. I totally went ham on that domain name.
I love it.
Yeah, and the programs I have coming up, I'm really working on stability, and just I've created a really like solid program, and I just want to keep it going. And I have a goal for January. I know I'm looking for 8 women by the end of January. After that, I'm going to cap it because I won't be able to deliver as quality of coaching to those women. And what it looks like is like the coaching calls once per week, workouts and nutrition and the mindset. And it's all encompassing. I work on like a 4 month, 6 month, or 1 year plan. And then I also have other options for women who might not need that much guidance, something that's a little bit more just the virtual check-ins and things like that. But it's quite flexible. It's nice when you work for yourself. And yeah, if anyone's thinking about it, fear, resistance is normal, and you just gotta just do it sometimes.
Just do the thing. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, we'll definitely be in touch because I am definitely hearing the calling. And if it wasn't from our first conversation, it is definitely from this one. To, yeah, do the thing. And I'm even hearing a little bit of a calling to do a bodybuilding competition, which is nuts because I've never been interested in doing one of those. Yeah. But part of me is like, yeah, girl, why not? Do the thing.
Yeah.
So,
It was one of the hardest things I've done, but you learn so much about yourself. It was one of the best moments of my life too, because you see what you're made of. And a lot of people, they say, oh, I couldn't do it because of the food. But if you can master your mind, if you can master the food, you can do anything. Like, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, to me, I feel like when I start eating healthy, anything that's not, I like my body, I can't even look at it. So it's really, yeah, to me that I feel like that's the easiest part. I think it's the rest of it. It's like, the balancing, the schedule, the 9 to 5, the business, the sun, all the different things. It's like, again, but to me, I know that those are all excuses because when you're focused and when you're committed and you say you're going to do something, you just do the thing and you make it work. Right. And so it is really that self priority, which is so powerful. And I just, my heart feels so full with this hope of like, oh, you're going to promise you're going to do something for yourself and you're actually going to do it. Like that is really exciting because you're right. As a mother, as a woman, as a person who's learned to self-sacrifice for others, it's something that I can feel already. My heart is like glowing and shining of it's just so much fulfillment, like so much. Yeah, there's so much power in that. So I just love that you support women in this and that self-empowerment, that capacity to bring it for yourself. And I think a lot of us look to our relationships, to our career, to everything outside of ourselves to bring us that feeling, when the truth is we can give it to ourselves, and you have the recipe. And I love that. I just, yes to all of it.
Oh, I love that. And that's really the basis of it. Like you don't need a lot to be happy. That joy and inner fulfillment can come from within. Start watering your own soil. That's it.
Yes, girl. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. Well, thank you so, so much for sharing your gift with us. Thank you for all the tips and yeah, just so much inspiration, so much love. What you're doing, the way you do it, the way you show up in the world is such a gift. I know as soon as we connected, I was like, oh yeah, this girl is totally spirit tribe. We have to maintain this relationship because yeah, this is happening. This is it. So you heard it here first. I'm going to make sure that I launch this podcast before January because the podcast launches January. I'm going to put a few teasers out, and this is going to be one of them so we can get people into your program, because I would absolutely love for the people who hear this that are inspired to find you, to join you, follow, do the thing, commit to yourself. It is so, so worth it. I might be
Thank
one,
you
I might be
so
one of those 8.
much. I would love to have you on board because honestly, like, yeah, it's a journey everyone should go on. So
Absolutely. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Nikita. You are such a gift. Keep shining your light, and any way that I can support you, you know, I'm always here.
thank you so much. I love you so much. And
Oh,
hello, everyone watching.
I
Bye.
love you so much. Have a beautiful night. Thank you. Mwah. Take care.